I want to start with UFC 264. I've thought about it this morning, and I could have gone with Game 3 of the NBA Finals, but I want to go back to what happened on Saturday night, UFC 264, because to me that was a hell of a night. And I made it back in town. I want to make sure that I came back off the lake and made it back to take that in because I knew that was going to be a big night, and it was. And that was a reminder of why there's absolutely nothing quite like MMA. Because what Saturday night was part 3 of Dustin Poirier and Connor McGregor. And for all the hype in the buildup and all the talk going into that fight about how it was going to go, I'm not sure anybody saw it going the way it actually went. I'm not sure that anybody anywhere, and even in a sport when you never know what's going to happen, I don't think anybody saw it ending the way it ended. So at the end of the first round, Conor goes to plant his left foot, found out that he did not have a left foot, or that he put that left foot on backwards, or it was just shooting out in a direction that it's not supposed to go. I mean, call it what you want. I'm just going to say it was disgusting, because that's what it was. It was disgusting. That was some Joe Theismann bleep right there. And that was the ending that nobody wanted to see. Nobody could have ever projected, and believe me, nobody wanted to see. Like, you never want to see a guy lose a fight because his ankle snapped like a twig. I don't care who the guy is, you never want to see that happen, ever. That said, don't get it twisted. Conor did not lose that fight. Dustin Poirier won that fight, just like he won their previous fight. I know we can only say that it was just one round, and that anything can happen over the course of a fight, and that maybe in the second round things might have been different. But I'm here to tell you things were not going to be different. Conor was not going to win that fight. Conor was not the better man nor the better fighter. If anything, that broken leg kept him from getting his face broken and his skull cracked. Conor can try to convince everybody that that should go in the books as a doctor's stoppage and not a loss per se, but Poirier was beating the hell out of him yet again. And that broken leg meant that Conor was getting off easier otherwise. Let me just go back to that in a second. Dustin, though, deserves his bleeping respect. All this guy has done in the last 5 years is go 8-1 with a no contest. He's beaten Anthony Pettis. He's beaten Justin Gaethje. He's beaten Eddie Alvarez, Max Holloway, Conor twice. The only guy he didn't beat is Khabib, and nobody beats that guy. So arguably, no one is fighting better right now, or has been in recent years, not named Khabib, than Dustin. So I get why all the focus was on Conor after the fight, but Dustin is the one who deserves the hype and the attention. And he's just not getting it. Not nearly enough anyway, even when he beats the hell out of Conor 2 times in a row. So let's be really clear about that. That was not a fluke win for Poirier. That was a win, pure and simple. And all that busted ankle did, or leg, was save Conor from a longer, more prolonged beating on Saturday night. So I don't want to hear, like, we don't know what would have happened in the second round. Yes, we do. A lot more the same. Because for all that talk that Conor overlooked Dustin in January, for all that talk that he was coming back a new and more focused guy, and that this time it was personal for him, come to find out, it was way more personal for Poirier, and he showed it. He showed it during the fight, and then he showed it after the fight. He showed it when he mocked Conor's strut, because Saturday night was not a good night for Conor. I mean, in any way, shape, or form, aside from his bank account. He breaks his leg, he loses the fight, and then did not exactly cover himself in glory, right, in his post-fight interview. In fact, and this is coming from a guy, you know me, if you know this show, this is coming from somebody who always loved McGregor. Always loved this guy. But he acted like a complete bag after the fight. Dustin said as much when he called him, quote, a dirtbag in his post-fight interview. McGregor's off to the side, nursing his shattered leg, and Dustin's like, man, that dude's just a dirtbag. As for what Conor said, before I play it, let me just say this. If you were interviewing me after I put my ankle on backwards and my tibia shattered, I'm not sure that would be the finest interview of my life. In fact, forget doing an interview. I'd barely speak for a week. Not a good look. Not a good look at all. That might have done more damage to his rep as a fighter than anything that actually happened during the fight itself, because that sounded like a dude who was desperate and flailing about. I mean, nothing more weird than a dude sitting there in the cage with his foot dangling from his leg and talking about the other guy's wife and her DMs after he just got the hell beat out of him again. I mean, it's just so weird and so strange and so desperate. And then saying, quote, "This is not over," after getting your ass kicked twice in a row, and saying that you would take it outside right now when you're sitting flat on the ground with a busted leg is about the most ridiculous thing ever. I mean, even Conor himself's got to know that, right? You can't be talking bleep when they're carrying you out on a stretcher. Well, it's pretty much over, Conor. At least that was over. So don't think for a second that people didn't notice the fact that he did a lot of talking about sending Poirier out on a stretcher when Conor was the one taking the stretcher ride in the end. I know he didn't want to lose that fight, and he sure as hell didn't want to lose it that way, but come on, right? You take the L and you keep moving. Like, this is a guy who used to be extremely classy when he lost, but not anymore. This is a guy who used to embody the win or learn philosophy. Now he's got the win or make remarks about the other guy's wife philosophy. That's the worst. Like, this guy is kicking ass at showing no class whatsoever. Conor has shown none of late. And here's an even more painful question, right? When was the last time Connor McGregor was Conor McGregor? Was it when he beat Eddie Alvarez? Was it when he was the double champ? When he came back and he beat Nate Diaz in that rematch? And then won a second belt? Like, that was pretty badass. That was historic. But that was also ancient history. That was 5 years ago. 5 years in this game is a hell of a long time. What has he been since then? Let me tell you, he's been 1-3 in the cage since then. 0-1 in the boxing ring since then. He lost to Khabib, twice to Poirier. And as much as I respect the Cowboy, that win over him didn't mean much at all. So, bottom line, and don't get me wrong about this, Conor can still fight. Conor is not some shot fighter who's just out there cashing checks. He can still fight, but he doesn't scare guys. Didn't scare Khabib, doesn't scare Dustin. I can keep naming guys, but he doesn't scare guys anymore. That aura, that mystique, all that stuff that he had, it's gone. And once you lose it, you can't get it back. It used to be that guys were scared to get in the cage with Conor. You could see it in their eyes. They had lost that fight before it even started. They had lost the fight at the press conference or in the weeks of hype leading up to the fight. Now guys are practically fighting each other to get a chance to fight Conor because they know he's vulnerable. I'm not saying that he's washed. I'm not saying that he's finished. He'll turn 33 this week. He's got a lot of good years left if he wants them. But you know what? To me, it keeps coming back to the thing that Dana told me, Dana White, years ago. When you get the kind of money that Conor has now, the kind of money that sets up your family for generations to come, like, how badly do you want to get punched in the face? How badly do you want to train? How hungry are you when you can eat whatever the hell you want? There are still good fights out there for him. A Nate Diaz trilogy fight would be amazing. There's a real good chance, of course, that we'll get a fourth fight with Dustin. And then people will do what they always do with Conor. They will line up. They'll throw down serious money for those fights. Except Conor needs to show up. He's got to deliver. He's always been the best talker in the game when he could back it up. When he could back it up, there was nothing better. But when he can't and he goes classless, then it's the worst look ever. In short, Conor McGregor needs to be Conor McGregor once again, and soon. Like, as soon as that ankle allows him to be so.